Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton today reacted to the big FBI news, continuing an investigation looking into these emails found on Anthony Weiner and Huma Abedin, his then wife, their laptop. And tens of thousands, or more than 10,000, we're told, emails. However, news breaking right at this moment, this is from Michael Isikoff just moments ago. We don't have this confirmed independently, but here's how he writes it. As of Saturday night, the FBI had still not gotten approval from the Justice Department for a warrant that would allow agency officials to read any of the newly discovered Abedin emails, and therefore are still in the dark about whether they include any classified material that the Bureau has not already seen. Quote, "We do not have a warrant," a senior law enforcement official said. Discussions are underway between the FBI and the Justice Department as to the best way to move forward. Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. A.B. Stoddard, associate editor at Real Clear Politics. And look at this, Juan Williams, columnist with The Hill in Washington, D.C., co-host of The Five, and Charlie Hurt, political columnist for The Washington Times. All right, Steve. So Isikoff saying they don't have a warrant. Washington Post says Justice Department said to Comey, don't do it, but there was not a lot of juice there because Loretta Lynch had the meeting with President Clinton on the tarmac. What do you make of all this?
I'm not at all surprised that Loretta Lynch doesn't want Jim Comey doing this after her meeting, but as you discussed with your two panelists earlier, it's part of what led him to go public and be as transparent as he's been. There are two other, I think, interesting considerations. It was reported today that Huma Abedin has told friends and associates that she doesn't know how these emails ended up on Anthony Weiner's computer. That's interesting. It's also apparent that she contradicted herself, or that the existence of these emails on a separate device may have contradicted sworn testimony that she provided, where she told the FBI that she only, or in sworn depositions, that she only used these specified devices to communicate via email, potentially with Secretary Clinton. So there are all sorts of, I think, potential problems for Huma Abedin specifically in this. But on the broader question, the Clinton attacks on Comey are really tough to understand. I mean, on the one hand, she has to defend herself somehow. On the other hand, going after James Comey, the FBI director who clearly went out of his way to avoid prosecuting her before, who works for Barack Obama, attacking him as some kind of Republican stooge just doesn't work. It's just not going to sell. Juan,
I should point out that graphics that AP Isikoff wrote for Yahoo for that piece that's posting now. Now, to Steve's point, Juan, the same person who went to these great lengths to hide these emails and kind of stall with Congress is now calling for transparency and let it all out. Well, they have to know. They can't put all those things out. There's more than 10,000 of them.
No, but I think what the argument is, and one is in terms of the investigative technique and the other is political. So let's do investigative technique first. I think that her argument would be you had to make this judgment on the basis of some alarming information. Otherwise, it's not justified coming so close before an election and politicizing the FBI. So what is the basis for the judgment that you made? The political basis would be right now that campaign is in shock. They don't know exactly what happened or where it came from, but they know they got hit. And they're a little bit on the ropes right now. So you can punch back, and the person to punch back at here, interestingly, is not Trump, but Jim Comey. And Comey, of course, even as you heard from your earlier guest, that a lot of people thought he went far in trying to explain the basis and that he had been unreasonably careless earlier before announcing he wasn't making a decision. He was making a decision not to go forward with prosecution. Now he comes to the point where people are saying, well, let's hear from you again. Why are you in hiding, Mr. Comey? So I think that's part of Podesta. John Podesta, the campaign chair, has been the principal punching. Now here comes Clinton today.
You know who's in hiding or haven't seen is Huma Abedin. And Donald Trump noticed that on the trail today.
Is she going to keep Huma? Huma's been a problem. Do we agree? Huma's been a problem. I wonder if Huma's going to stay there. And I hope they haven't given Huma immunity, because it seemed that everybody that walked down the sidewalk got immunity. I hope they haven't given Huma immunity.
All right, so let's talk about the politics, how this translates. Does this move the needle a lot in the final days?
Well, I think, you know, at first glance, definitely. And there are a lot of Hillary Clinton would-be voters that just really are never going to vote for Donald Trump, but they really find her appalling, and maybe this will just ultimately turn them off. I think she's going to lose some voters. I've said all along it is so easy to depress her vote. For a lot of people in this country, Donald Trump scares them, but she nauseates them, and I think this is going to keep people home. That said, I do think, and I've said at this table before, James Comey ran a bad investigation. They didn't impanel a grand jury. They didn't search the home. He indicted her politically and laid out a case for her, and then said, which is not in his purview, and it's in the purview of the Department of Justice, no prosecutor would take this case. He is in political hot water or professional hot water. He's having a midlife crisis about this, and I understand that he can't have this leak and then, you know, look like he was covering something up. But the Isikoff news is interesting, that when the letter was written, FBI officials internally are saying he didn't know what was in the emails. He will really melt over this, and in the coming days they're going to fight back. It'll be interesting to see what Obama and Biden say. I don't think anyone cares what Lynch has to say, but this is going to be interesting in terms of, you know, we'll see a week from tonight what this did to her polling, but I don't think it helps her. I just don't know that it'll be an avalanche.
Well, one of the people you mentioned, Joe Biden, talked to CNN.
I think the quicker they release the emails for the public to see them, the better off. I have confidence in Hillary. I don't know where these emails came from. What
apparently Anthony Weiner.
Well, oh God, Anthony Weiner. I should not comment on Anthony Weiner. I'm not a big fan, and I wasn't before he got in trouble, so I shouldn't comment on Anthony Weiner.
Boy, I'm not sure that they really want the emails out there, because who knows, you know, even if they haven't seen them, there could be a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Oh, sure. Or they could just be about, you know, yoga and, you know, baby showers.
10,000 of them.
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't matter at this point. They're not going to release them. They can't release them at this point. And the Clintons know that, and that's why they can make that demand. But I do think it's kind of interesting, all this attention on Huma. Huma's not the problem here. The problem here is Anthony Weiner. And Anthony Weiner, the only reason that Anthony Weiner is in Huma's life is because the Clintons introduced the two of them together. And I think about this when I think about, you know, what we grapple with why James Comey has done this. And you think about the terrible position he was in, both the first statement he made in the summer, and then more recently. But at the end of the day, it is all the Clintons. The Clintons are the ones that are ultimately responsible for all of this.
Fascinating. Panel, thank you.